Hello, this is Victor at historymercedes.com. This is another report, progress report for Oscar in New York, and this is our 93 500E here. And today I spent a good amount of time working on this engine, checking out things and see what was done and what needs to be done. Now, first things first. So basically, I had to remove few things up front here to get to remove the belt plus air pump. I had to remove that as well, smoke pump. What to start off with? Okay, well anyway, so let's start off with in front. Now, fan was removed. I cannot say that the fan clutch is in good condition, so that has to be probably replaced because the pin seemed to be sticking. So that's one thing. Second thing is air pump was replaced at some point because I see a remanufactured sticker on it. Let's see, I'll show you that on the parts bench here. These are the parts, just want to put it on the same table here. So here we have auto pack remanufactured. See if you can pick that up. Camera doesn't pick it up. Okay, remanufactured by Autopack. So, and you can see the color of it is actually pretty nice. So, rebuilt air pump. Most likely what they do is this pump is original, they just replace the bearing on the pulley. That's what I do usually because the pump rarely fails internally, but the bearing does. This piece right here is original. So this is our bimetallic spring, this is a fan clutch, and it says 95 M11. So this is 11 month of 95, that's when it was produced. So it would be nice to replace because it's just old. I mean, it's many years, plus the pin seems to be sticking with that one that pushes out bimetallic spring. There is a little bit of tension still on it, so I would recommend doing it because it's just really ridiculous to get this bolt out. It's like one of those evil bolts, same as evil bolt in the back of the passenger side and driver's side valve cover gasket. It's just ridiculous. I had to raise the engine up to get to it. Well, anyway, it is what it is. The suspension fluid reservoir was removed because I needed to get a little more access to timing chain tensioner. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I removed the reason I want to see what's going on to do all this work is I had a serious chain slap. So when you start the engine cold, it was a ridiculous slapping of the chain, and you can hear it. It's like blah, 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 like insane. So that's actually going to cause big problems because the chain eventually will skip. Although I do see new chain itself, the chain is new. Guides seem to be all intact, at least on this side. Chain tensioner guide is also seem to be intact. There is a little bit of wear on it, of course, already because it appears to be done in 2005, so we have 10 years of operation, but the wear is not very bad. So another picture, I probably won't pick it up, but the guides are all there, not broken, so that's a good thing. The plastics on these guides are soft, so usually when these guides are overheated and too old, these just break right off when you move them a bit, so that's bad. So these things to be okay. I think these things are okay. The chain is new, well, relatively new, whenever it was installed, 2005, but not 20 years old, but 10 years old. The water pump, it appears to be okay actually, because I was thinking that the water pump was noisy, but in reality the bearing seemed to be okay and it's not making any noises. Same for this pulley right here, no play. Alternator, also no plays there. Power steering, a little bit of play, but it's an end play already. It's not the bearing, it's the end play on the pump. And again, no noise there. Idler on the AC, has a little bit of play. AC is turning. The compressor is turning. It's not seized. That's important because we're gonna have to deal with AC at one point. So it is turning by hand. That's good. Now the pulley itself, well, there is a little bit of play, but I would say it's acceptable. Now this is the pulley that I have an issue with. If you see it, I can clearly move it, and there's a little bit of bearing noise, but this is the one, as you can see, this is the one that I have issues with. That's the one that was making that noise on a cold start. It was and then it would go away. So that's in terms of the pulleys. I think we replaced the pulley or the whole tensioner, because this is spring-loaded tensioner. What I did is I did not loosen it up, because once you loosen it up, then you break the rubber. I basically tightened it, so there's still a good amount of tension on it, so I might be able to reuse it, but pulley has to be replaced. Okay, that's that. Caps and rotors made in 2004. I'll show you caps and rotors. So here we have, right down there, 2003 production date on the circle right there. This is what they look like inside. Not a good look, actually. They're 10 years old. They definitely need to be replaced 100%. The rotor though, rotors were made in 96, I believe. Let's see. Sorry for the video that's out of, I mean, you know, it's all over the place. I'm all over the place with this video, but it's late day, and late in the day I need to just document this and just go home. Well, the rotor is very difficult to catch on camera, the production date on the rotor, but yeah, here it goes, 96. So they were replaced at some point, unless these are original, because the car, no, they cannot be original. Oh, I'm sorry. The car was manufactured the 6th month of 92, so this is definitely replacement rotor, but it was replaced. It was made in 1996, so obviously this is old. This is how it looks on the other side, rusty, and terminals are burnt, so these definitely need to be replaced. Okay, that's our caps and rotors. Moving along, the internals of the engine, valve covers and all that stuff. So obviously, as we all know, that bottom bolt, back bolt over there, very difficult to remove. It was like, covering was damaged already. As you can see, the coloring, it's like all darkened, because that's when I get to it, that's how it was. Now there is a little bit of silicone somebody put at the edge over there, and that's gonna be a lot of fun to actually clean off. I never put silicone at edges, because if everything is cleaned properly, say here, I can actually pull some silicone. Now my philosophy is that if everything is cleaned up properly, there is no need to put silicone. It's a rubber gasket. It's supposed to be torqued properly, and if it is, then it shouldn't leak. If it leaks, then there's a problem somewhere. But it's not because you just forgot to put silicone. I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, I never put silicone on gaskets. There are some areas on like M104, M120 engine where you have to put a little silicone at the edge of the upper chain cover, but that's a different story. This is not that. Sometimes you can put a little silicone over here where two pieces of metal meet. But again, see right over here, where metal meets, then it might be a good idea to just put a tiny little droplet just to fill in the gap. But other than that, I wouldn't, you know, I never put silicone. So moving along with that, with this area. Now what we see, the engine is actually pretty nice. I mean, it has a little bit of yellowing, yes, but few cleanups should clean all of this yellowing off, like with nice synthetic oil. As you can see, I'm moving my finger against the surfaces and they become white, which is, you know, this is nice. So I'm sure that this can be cleaned up a little better with just nice synthetic oil with much stronger clean agents. Right, so that the oiler tubes unfortunately are not aluminum, they are plastic, and these are replacement tubes. I can tell because they put them upside down. You see these caps supposed to face downwards, it's not principle. I mean, it doesn't matter where they face. It's just that I was really hoping that these would have been aluminum ones, like old school engines. And this is actually older engine, not the newer one. And in 92 and 93, most of the 92s came with metal aluminum tubes, so that would have been nice to replace, because these caps always blow off, and you know, you lose oil pressure on the lifter, and then it starts ticking, tick 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 tick. So not good. So that's in terms of that. And you see, they didn't clean well on surfaces, so that's what I'm saying. If you clean surfaces nicely, you will not have a problem with gasket leaking. Another area that I have a little issue with is this area right here. It leaks oil under exhaust camshaft on the passenger side seal. As you can see, here is our oil leak. Seal is a little deformed, and over here the sitting area is a little deformed, but this is our oil leak. Pretty bad. I mean, it was replaced, I know, but again, they could have not cleaned surfaces very well, therefore it's not sealing well and it's leaking. So that's one thing that's leaking. And I think the magnet is leaking as well, because this connector is all over covered with oil. This is original magnet, 5th month of 1992. This is not a magnet, actually, I'm sorry, it's a electromagnetic coil. Basically it's a solenoid, so it pulls camshaft advancer back and, you know, forward. You had to open up oil passages, and then you advance the camshaft, intake camshafts, to advance timing altogether. So, but it's all covered in oil. It's not coming from under there, it's coming from there, because you can see it's like all like nasty. So as you would look at this one, for example, see, this is nice and clean. There is a little bit of seepage over there, but that could have been from previous work. There's a little silicone here, which is, that suggests me that they removed these covers to get to timing chain guides. That's what I'm thinking, because probably guides were replaced. So that's that. The neck on thermostat housing could use a little cleaning, because it's etching out, as you can see. They had green antifreeze in this car, which is not something that it was supposed to be in the car. That's not the one that should be there. So we need to put in proper antifreeze, flush the system. All these plastic vacuum tubes and these little elbows, they're all perishing. Once you touch them, they fall apart, so they have to go. Some vacuum pipes like these were replaced. You can feel them, they're softer, they're pliable, so they're okay. Like, say for some reason this one is replaced, this one was never replaced, it's hard as a rock. But the throttle body was replaced, so they had to replace the bottom hose. So I don't know what happened here, why they didn't replace the middle one, but it is what it is. Maybe I'll replace that too, I'm not sure yet. That's the next step. So, and again, the biggest problem here is our timing chain slapping and our timing chain tensioner. So timing is set at 45, as you can see, 45 degree, the mark is there, and see 45. I had one spark plug out, so I can see where my piston is, and I lock both camshafts because no big deal, just put bolts in there. So timing is set properly, so you can remove the tensioner. And what I found was actually pretty interesting. As you can see, everything is in proper setting, so I can tighten and loosen up timing chain tensioner guide. The funny thing what I found with it is the chain tensioner itself was stuck, which is actually very surprising, because there is oil pressure, it should be pushed, but for some reason I had to work it very hard many times before it actually popped up. Obviously this is too much of extension, should be like somewhere there. But when I got there, when I removed it, chain tensioner was in pretty much more. Oh, I cannot even do it right now, but this is gonna have to be replaced anyway. So I'll remove the spring. I'll show you what it was. So I don't need that thing no more. So when I removed it, as you saw the tension on the spring, the chain tensioner was like this. It was in, and I tried to move it. I moved it, turned it a little bit, and it finally came out. Because even right now I cannot even move it. I cannot pull it back out, and theoretically it should be able to move, but it can't be pulled out. Let me use some pliers. I want to show you the scoring inside on the bore. So let's see, pliers. Hello, pliers. No pliers? Alright, this is just great. Let me try to use the children pliers, the low ones. I try to pull this thing out its casing. Oops, excuse me, missed the shot. So here it goes. It's difficult to make a video with one hand holding a cell phone. Not very. So I'm sorry for this video, but again, this is a status report. It's not demonstrational, instructional. This is to show what's happening with the vehicle, because customer cannot come and see what's happening on a daily basis. So that's our status report video. Come on now. See, it's not cooperating with me. It doesn't want to move freely in its bore. So obviously we have a problem with it. Come on, buddy. How do I get you out there? So now in this case I do need two hands really. So let me just put the phone down. I can't do it with one hand. Alright, so I'll try to do it two hands. See, very stubborn. Yeah. Okay. A lower piston. Let's see. Just wipe my hands down. So we're gonna go and look inside. Just want to show you the scoring, internal scoring on the bore. So as you can see, some etching going on. There's something got stuck in there and it basically wore out a surface that's supposed to be nice, very nice and clean. Some dirt could have got in or whatever happened there, but this isn't normal. I mean, good working chain tensioner should not have this kind of scoring on the bore. So we have a problem here with this chain tensioner. It's good that I looked at it, because I was actually reluctant to remove it, because chain tensioner was installed in it was made in 2005, and the actual piston looks decent, but the aluminum, because it's steel, obviously it's gonna eat the aluminum faster, because this is steel, that's aluminum. The actual tensioner was made in 2005. It's good swag, so it's all good tensioner. Everything was installed nice. Gasket was not leaking or anything. So I figured I have to look at it, and once I saw it I was like, okay, now it explains it all. Explains it all why we had such a terrible slap on the chain. Now when I have the spring in there, I will be able to move it, but again, it was deep in there, so once it passes a certain limit going in, it gets stuck. So that has to be replaced. Okay, so what else? We have air scoop intake cracked. That was cracked. That's on the passenger side. Cover that covers our headlight. That's where the air scoop goes into the intake, the air cleaner housing. Spark plugs. Spark plugs were proper. They were proper spark plugs. Non-resistor, non-resistor. F8 DC4 bar super. Can't see production date on it, but we need to replace it, because look at this thing. This is not good. So this has to be replaced, even though the gap is more or less decent. I've seen them way worse than this, but this is bad, so spark plugs obviously have to go. In terms of the fuel filter, fuel pump and all that situation, I had recorded another video about that, so we know about that. We're gonna do fuel pump, filter and all that stuff. Obviously oil has to be replaced. I'm still debating should I go into the oil filter housing or not, because this series of motor, the serial number on the motor we have down there, so 11997212005-319. Now what that means is that this engine has older style check valve, one-way valve on the oil filter housing for oil to stay inside the engine and not to leak back through the housing into the oil pan. So that means that we have an old one, and it would have been nice to put an updated version. The updated version came with motors starting in 006-9 something, I believe. I don't remember exact number, but it has to be 006, so we're obviously series below that, so that's not the one that would have that updated version check valve, one-way valve for oil pressure to stay in the system. So I don't know, maybe I will do that. We'll replace it, mine as well, so we have always oil in the system, so there will be never a chain slap like what we had before. I tried to record it on the video, on previous video, but it didn't happen because there was pressure in the system, so it didn't leak down all the way. So but that's the problem. Now this cap rotor, of course, same condition as the one I showed you before. Okay, so that basically will wrap this up. This is the parts list. I'm working on the parts list of what we need. That's going to be next, just to estimate parts, where to buy, what to buy. Recommend, of course, dealer timing chain, dealer caps rotors, gaskets for the timing chain gasket, valve cover gaskets, all dealer, spark plugs, whatever we can buy aftermarket, as long as it's Bosch Super. I mean, there is no aftermarket really, just Bosch and or nothing else. So that's non-resistor plug that we got to put in, all 8. Oiler tubes, you can only I would not suggest like aluminum aftermarket. I would rather get 92 early aluminum used, because those never fail. With new O-rings, they will never fail. So that's the tubes that we need to replace. That would be nice to do. And then after this is all going to be done, then I'll take care of all that oil over there. That looks to be a power steering pump. I might remove it to see what's going on, but this is not going to be easy because it's a tandem pump. It's a dual action pump, one for suspension, one for power steering. So but something is leaking. Obviously it's leaking from above AC compressor, and there is our power steering pump. I don't think it's oil because it's really relatively dry. That's way too much oil, unless when they did the engine work they never cleaned the engine, so now we don't know if it was the old oil or fresh oil. I think it's fresh because it's sort of wet, so it would have burned off since 2004 when this work was done. It appears to be done in 2004, 2005 maybe, 2005, 2006, okay, something 2005 circa. Alright, so that's basically going to cover it. It's a long video, but it's a good amount of work that I've done today. Checked many things, very important things, and I also have to clean up suspension fluid reservoir. It has lots of particles on the bottom that has to be cleaned up, new fresh fluid put in there, and fuel pump is leaking badly, like the crush rings, they're like still leaking. I tried to tighten them a little bit so I can but no, they're just replacement, that's it. And high pressure hose replace, because that's life. I mean, it's fuel gushing all over. You cannot have it. It's unacceptable. Alright, so this is all for now. This is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. 500E 1994, Jesus Christ, it's a long day. 1993, 500E for Oscar in New York. Thank you for watching.